Hello, this is Christian Takushi at Geopolitical Economics in Switzerland. 2 weeks ago, we issued our global geopolitical outlook to our clients, and this is just a very short clip trying to address important issues following the US airstrikes on Syria. By the way, this is a small parenthesis. Geopolitical economics analyzes geopolitical developments that are being underestimated by consensus, but they could have quite an impact on key economies and financial markets. Let's go on this short video. We have 4 points that we would like to address. I'll try to make it short and efficient for you. First point is the Trump move to attack Syria. We believe that these airstrikes on the Syrian airfield are a masterstroke that addresses very important battlegrounds for this new administration. It is a defining moment for this Trump administration, a positive step for it, and it addresses 4 areas. I would say very simply. A, it sends a very strong message to Russia, Iran, North Korea, and China simultaneously. Quite smart. B, it diffuses the fears and allegations that Trump cannot take on Russia directly or tacitly. C, it rallies domestically bipartisan support for Trump and also even support from liberal leaders and the Muslim world, something that few would have expected just a few weeks ago. And finally, it reasserts the leadership of the new president, also as commander-in-chief, very important ahead of efforts to bring through Congress' tax bill. Let's go to the next point. The second point that I'd like to address is very important. I believe that a risk of a new war or a new major conflict in the Middle East is being underestimated. Since 2014, summer, we're expecting a new US-Iran deal, the Obama deal, to set the Middle East on course for one war or possibly 2 wars. And since then, Iran and its proxies like Hezbollah are behaving very assertively, and no one is really being able to rein on them, rather the opposite. Neither the US nor Russia or the EU. All of them are just trying to play on their interests, and and Iran and its proxies are actually gaining momentum in achieving their goals. I think this may come to a clash this year, and we see the high likelihood or the growing likelihood that sometime in August or September this year there could be a conflict in the Middle East started or originated by Iran or possibly Hezbollah. The target could be a Sunni state, possibly Israel, and current analysis, our independent analysis, intelligence gathering would suggest that Jerusalem could be a target. Iran has a window of opportunity this year that is closing actually by the end of October, November. And I'm sure that Iran would like to use that opportunity, if it can, to assert its preeminence or rise in the Middle East. And what a better way to do it than to strike a Sunni state or ideally Israel. On the other hand, Turkey will be also beginning to drum up its importance in the Middle East, even more so from October onwards this year. As you may know, in November this year, Turkey celebrates the 100th anniversary of the fall of Jerusalem during World War I to Christianity, i.e. to the British Armed Forces. German and Turkish military collapsed in the Judean hills and the Negev in the run-up to November 1917. A few weeks later, Jerusalem fell to Christianity, and it marked the end of 673 years of Muslim occupation of Jerusalem. It was a disaster for the caliphate of those days, and a few years later, the Ottoman Empire collapsed. And Turkey will celebrate or receive the 100th anniversary of that in 2022. So from October 2017 to the middle of 2022, Turkey will be on a very assertive, proactive mode to reassert its comeback to the world stage. It is something that we are monitoring thanks to our holistic approach. Our approach to geopolitics is not just economics driven, it is also taking into account Western perspective and also Oriental perspectives and worldview. That is something that we do, that we think is very important to do in a postmodern world where the East is also rising. It's important to look at the world not just through Western glasses, but also through Oriental glasses. Okay, let's go to the next point. Point number 3 is the EU. The whole world, the consensus is talking about the EU and the risk or the imminent risk or threat of a shift to the right, the success of a voter revolt, like what we saw in Britain or the USA. I want to say all this is a little bit exaggerated. The instability and polarization of Europe is a long-term process. It's happening. The shift to the right is happening. But it's not going to affect this year the key core EU countries, France and Germany. Actually, what we see is the opposite. I will go straight to the point. We see the EU not shifting to the right in 2017, rather to the left. By the end of this year, we see the EU, at least the core countries, France and Germany, and the EU policy in Brussels shifting to the left, to the liberal camp. And I think many people will be surprised by that. Also, the absence of Britain will actually mean that the new EU policies will be more for deficit spending, more liberal, socialist, and leftist. That is something that we see coming, which is also setting the EU on confrontation course with the Trump administration, with the United States. Something that is also being underestimated because everybody's talking about the common values that we share. You know, it's very, very nice to say that, politically correct to say that we share the same values as the US, but actually the fact is we are diverging. The values of the United States and continental Europe are diverging, and very few people would like to talk about. But this is something maybe for another occasion. Next point is the U.S. Supreme Court. This is the fourth and final point we want to address in this short clip. The U.S. Supreme Court is very important. It's being overshadowed. You know, the nomination and confirmation of Neil Gorsuch the last 48 hours was overshadowed by the events in Syria, but it's nonetheless very important. Justices, the Supreme Court, are confirmed for life terms, and this is a very important confirmation because it reestablishes the conservative majority in the U.S. Supreme Court. But not just that majority. When you look at Mr. Neil Gorsuch, you find a person that is a constitutionalist conservative justice, and this sets the tone for the future one or two Supreme Court nominations that President Trump may be able to do in the coming years, which will set the Supreme Court on a more constitutionalist, conservative path that will have quite an effect on the USA for decades to come and probably for the world. A lot of people have been talking about that we have a liberal world order. I have to say we have to be careful with that. There is a possibility that the US may do a course correction on that and reassert some of the conservative values that we have left behind since the mid-1970s. Something also to talk more about on another occasion. This is Christian Takushi at Geopolitical Economics in Switzerland. Thank you for your kind attention.